Before you slather Vaseline or Aquaphor all over your face tonight, you need to watch this video. Vaseline or petroleum jelly has become the latest sensation in skincare. Celebrities are promoting it, your favorite influencers are slathering their face in it, and people on TikTok are claiming that it is the latest hack for healthy, glowing skin. But as a board-certified dermatologist, I'm seeing patients in my clinic who are making some serious mistakes with Vaseline and suffering the consequences, and today I need to set the record straight. So today I'm going to tell you exactly when Vaseline can be amazing for your skin and when it could lead to problems like breakouts, clogged pores, or even worse. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use petroleum jelly in your skincare routine safely and effectively, and who should probably avoid it based on your skin type. Because the truth is, Vaseline isn't for everybody, and using it wrong could set your skin back months. So let's talk about what's happening here. The Vaseline face trend is also called slugging, and it makes a comeback this time every year. The idea is that you put a thin layer of Vaseline or Aquaphor as your final step in your nighttime skincare routine. So you've done everything else, and before you go to bed, a thin layer of Vaseline. I've seen influencers using gobs of this on their face, and I think that's just for shock value, and it's not how you should be using it. Now with slugging, people are claiming all sorts of things, like it is the essential step to give you glass skin, that it can eliminate dry patches, reduce fine lines and wrinkles, that it might heal your skin from within and give you a glow. And I spend time scrolling TikTok, and some of the before and afters look really convincing. People are waking up with hydrated, happy, healthy, glowing skin. But what you don't see are the people that end up in my clinic because they tried the latest viral trend and their skin has gone haywire. Some people suffer mild problems like milia, tiny little clogged pores, and I've also seen people with bacterial infections or deep cystic acne as a result of slugging, so you definitely don't want to do it the wrong way. The problem isn't necessarily the Vaseline itself, but that people don't understand what Vaseline is used for and how to use it properly on their skin. They just don't know what they're doing, which is the case with a lot of TikTok trends. So before we dive into the how-to, let's talk about the science of what actually petroleum jelly does when you get it on your face. Petroleum jelly is something that comes from petroleum refining. It's a byproduct, and no, it does not contain any of the aromatic hydrocarbons that could lead to cancer. I see people online, particularly health and wellness influencers, talking about the carcinogenic risks of Vaseline, and it is simply not true. If you're going to be using it on your face, it's not going to be causing cancer. It is refined USP grade petrolatum, and in the United States, you want to look for 100% pure petroleum jelly or white petrolatum. I will give you a couple of alternatives if you don't want to use petroleum jelly, but you still want to incorporate slugging into your skincare routine. It is purely an occlusive ingredient. Petroleum jelly does not hydrate your skin. It doesn't have what we call humectants in it, ingredients like glycerin or urea that actually put water and help to hydrate your skin. Petroleum jelly is strictly an occlusive, and it's very effective at that. Studies show that it can reduce water loss by up to 99%. So when you apply Vaseline to the skin, you're essentially creating a barrier so that water loss does not happen. Our skin is supposed to keep water in the body, but if we have a damaged skin barrier, water loss can occur, and that's when you get irritation, inflammation, and itching. Essentially, Vaseline or petroleum jelly is trapping that water inside your skin, and if you are well hydrated, it will help to make your skin look more plump and glowing. Now, as a dermatologist, all dermatologists love petroleum jelly. When I do a surgery, I put petroleum jelly on the sutures after the incision has been repaired, and patients go home with a layer of Vaseline. And I instruct them to put Vaseline over those stitches every single day until we take the stitches out. It has a lot of good properties. It is hypoallergenic. Almost nobody reacts to Vaseline, which we can't say the same for Aquaphor or things like Neosporin. If you're getting pure white petrolatum or 100% pure petroleum jelly, it is non-comedogenic, meaning it's not going to clog your pores. You've probably seen people talk about getting clogged pores when using Vaseline, and I'll talk about why that is in a second. Petroleum jelly can be great to heal minor cuts and scrapes. If you have puncture wounds, petroleum jelly's not the thing to put on there. It reduces water loss from the skin for patients with eczema or abrasions on the skin. And one of the best parts is it's insanely cheap. Petroleum jelly is one of the least expensive things you can buy to use on your skin, and I can't say the same for a lot of the other products that people use for slugging. Now, all of that sounds great, I know, so what is the downside of slugging? Well, I'm gonna go through a few of the problems that I see in my clinic, and first is the dirty skin trap. If you have things on your skin that you haven't properly washed off and you put a layer of Vaseline over the top, it's locking that onto your skin. So if you didn't remove all your makeup, you didn't get your sunscreen off, or there's still dirt on the skin, you're trapping that and it could lead to breakouts. And this is why people get milia and other things when they start slugging. It's not due to the Vaseline itself, but it's because their skin wasn't fully prepared for it. They weren't cleansing properly. Problem number 2 is the active ingredient issue. When people are using AHAs or BHAs or retinol in their skincare routine, they're putting that on and then trapping it in with the petroleum jelly or the Vaseline, and it penetrates deeper than it should. This can lead to irritation and inflammation, skin barrier breakdown, and just problems all around. If your routine is primarily focused on hydration like hyaluronic acid or a ceramide containing lotion, slugging at the end of your skincare routine is probably going to be fine, but it doesn't necessarily work well if you're using a lot of active ingredients. Problem number 3 is the bacterial breeding ground. If you've got a lot of stuff on your skin, similar to the first problem that we talked about, the Vaseline is just going to trap that on your skin. The other problem that I see is that people use the same jar of Vaseline for years. It's been sitting underneath their sink and they pull it out whenever they get a cut or a scrape, and they're dipping their fingers in there and it's been there for years. This is not the ideal situation. It's why I love things like the CeraVe Healing Ointment, which is primarily petroleum jelly, but it comes in a tube. You can squeeze out just what you need. You're not dipping your fingers in there. A couple of the other alternatives we'll talk about have similar methods of approach too. Problem number 4 is that not all types of Vaseline are created equal. You want to make sure that you have 100% pure petroleum jelly or pure white petrolatum. There are other products that are vetted to be clean, refined, like Aquaphor, CeraVe Healing Ointment, or Dr. Rogers Restore, even though that one doesn't have any petrolatum on it, which I'll talk about in a minute. But all of these should be fine for the skin. The problem is when people start to get different types of Vaseline that have additives in there, so fragrance and other things that could lead to irritation on the skin. So particularly if you have sensitive skin, stay away from the nice smelling fragrance added types of Vaseline and just use pure white petrolatum. There is a little myth with Vaseline too, this pore clogging myth, and we did talk about how it's non-comedogenic, but again, if you have things on your skin that weren't properly washed off, you might see some clogged pores. Real quick before we continue, if you like these kinds of videos, I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps to support my mission to bring you good education to fight the illness industrial complex. That's people who want to take your money and get you to make decisions that maybe aren't in the best interest of your health. People are scaring you into all sorts of crazy marketing, and I just want to help you get the right information so you can decide what's best for your skin and your overall health. I want to help you pursue the best lifestyle that you can imagine to be happy, healthy for you and your family. And I do this work so that I can go out and help more people through my mobile clinic. I have a free clinic that I take. It's on wheels, it's 39-foot motorhome, and we go out and provide charitable care. And the work that I do on YouTube helps to support that, and you clicking that subscribe button helps me a lot too. Now let's look at who should and shouldn't use Vaseline, because again, it is not for everybody. You could be a good candidate for slugging if you have dry skin that's not typically acne prone. Again, if you have acne and you're treating it, trapping some of those actives underneath the Vaseline might not be the best idea. Also, if you live in a dry, cold climate over the winter, then Vaseline's going to do a really good job of helping to prevent that water loss. It can be a great step to hold in that moisture in your skin and keep your skin hydrated and happy all winter long. If you suffer from eczema or dermatitis of some kind, slugging can be a great way to help lock in moisture as part of the rest of your routine to battle that skin problem. But if you are being treated by a dermatologist, I always recommend that you follow their recommendations or check with your doctor first if you have a skin disease. Slugging can be a great way to help repair the skin barrier if you've been over exfoliating and your skin needs a break. You need to repair that skin barrier, and slugging can be a great part of that. If you're getting up there in years, then slugging can be a great way to help your skin maintain that moisture. I see a lot of patients in my clinic who are, in their 60s or 70s, they're starting to suffer from a lot of dry skin, and slugging at the end of their skincare routine could be a great way to help keep their skin happy and hydrated. Now that we've covered some of the people who probably could benefit from slugging, who should definitely avoid it? Well, if you have acne-prone or oily skin, slugging is probably not going to feel great. You're already producing plenty of oil, your skin probably doesn't suffer from a lot of dryness, and you may be using active ingredients to help combat that acne, and slugging is not something that I would typically recommend in my clinic for those circumstances. If you frequently use AHAs or BHAs and you like that chemical exfoliation and you're doing that 3-4 nights a week, I wouldn't recommend slugging on top of that. Again, it can penetrate the products a little deeper in your skin and could lead to more irritation. If you are prone to milia, you get those little white bumps easily, slugging is probably going to make that worse, and I wouldn't recommend it in those circumstances. And the next one has less to do with your skin and more to do with how you sleep. If you're a side sleeper or a stomach sleeper, you're gonna be getting Vaseline all over your pillowcase and it's gonna leach into your pillow, and that's really hard to clean. So slugging's probably easiest if you're a back sleeper. Now you might be asking, Dr. Portela, what do I do if I have combination skin? Well, in this circumstance, you might just want to use the Vaseline or the petroleum jelly on the areas that aren't so oily or acne prone. So individuals with combination skin can actually be quite dry on the lateral sides of their face and much more oily in the central part, in that T-zone part of the face. So you certainly don't want to slug all over, but you can use it in the areas that your skin needs it. A couple other considerations just to keep in mind is if you wear contact lenses, be real careful around the eye area. That goes with any product that you're putting on your face. You don't want to get something in there that's going to get trapped underneath a contact lens and could lead to more irritation or eye damage. If you suffer from any active skin conditions, I always recommend checking with your dermatologist first, and it just is a word of caution. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, it's a good idea to check with your doctor before you implement any change in your medication routine. Okay, so we got through all that. How do you actually slug and make it work for your skin type? Let's go through it. Step one is you have to start with clean skin. If you wear a lot of makeup or a lot of sunscreen, I even recommend double cleansing here. You want to make sure that all of that stuff gets off of the skin because you want to start with a clean palette and you're not trapping things underneath the Vaseline. Step two is to apply your regular skincare, but keep in mind if you're using actives like AHAs, BHAs, or retinol, skip your slugging on those nights and just do a good moisturizer. So when you're focusing more on hydration, which happens more over the winter, those are the nights where you can do the slugging, but on the nights that you're using your actives, probably not the best time to be putting on that Vaseline. Step three, let's talk about the timing of when to do it. If you're putting on moisturizing products like hyaluronic acid or a ceramide-based lotion, let that stuff soak in a bit before you put on the Vaseline. It's just gonna feel nicer on your skin and not mix everything around in a goopy mess. Step four, make it a thin layer. You guys do not need to goop on the Vaseline. You shouldn't be using a tablespoon to cover the whole face. We're talking just a bit on the end of your finger. In dermatology, we call this a fingertip unit. So the amount of Vaseline to go from the tip of the finger to the first knuckle, that's all you really need to cover your whole face. Use a few dots and mix that around. Another good idea is to just protect your pillowcase. If you are gonna be slugging periodically, put a towel over your pillowcase or use an old pillowcase because inevitably some of that will get transferred. Now, if you're just getting started with slugging, how often should you do it? This is something that you do not have to do every day. Start with once a week, maybe build it up to 2 or 3 times a week, but I generally don't think you need to be slugging every single night. If you're focused on getting good skincare, you're probably gonna wanna use actives several nights a week and you don't wanna slug at those times. But maybe if you're using actives all week, give your skin a break on the weekends, do your slugging, make sure your skin barrier is recovering well. If you're doing this regularly, you're probably gonna start seeing more hydrated, healthy, plump skin in the morning time. These results are temporary. Vaseline isn't really changing your skin in any measurable way. It's just providing a barrier against water loss. And so especially over the colder months, it can be really good to help hydrate the skin from within, make sure that your body is staying well hydrated too. You've got to drink plenty of water during the day. You shouldn't be noticing any breakouts or sensitivity. If you do, definitely take a break from slugging and figure out where the problem is. Go back to this video and look at the 5 problems that we talked about and see where you could be going wrong with your slugging routine. Now, we've talked primarily about petroleum jelly, plain Vaseline. Vaseline is a brand name, but pure white petrolatum is the active ingredient there, and that's all there is in plain Vaseline. But there are alternatives on the market that you might choose to use. One of those is Aquaphor. We talked about that a little bit. They sent this to me, and I love this thing. It's not actually full of Aquaphor, by the way. It was just filled with other jars, smaller jars of Aquaphor. Aquaphor is a great product. It does contain something in it called lanolin, which comes from sheep's wool. There's a small percentage of people that will be allergic to lanolin, so just be aware of that. I have had patients who use Aquaphor on their lips all the time, and they got a rash around the mouth and they couldn't figure out what the problem was. And they kept putting more Aquaphor on because their lips were getting more chapped, and in reality, they were just allergic to the lanolin. And once we switched them to plain Vaseline, they did much better. This is a not common reaction though. Not many people are allergic to lanolin, so if you like Aquaphor, you can definitely use it. The CeraVe Healing Ointment is the favorite in my family. My wife and kids use it all the time on every cut, scrape, or dry skin area. And this one also contains the petrolatum, but it contains ceramides, which of course CeraVe is known for. They put ceramides in everything, and these are important lipids and proteins for your skin barrier to function properly. My favorite thing for slugging is probably Dr. Rogers Restore. This is an ointment that does not contain any petrolatum, and I am not scared of petrolatum, mind you. I know that people talk about it. We talked about and addressed the issues with carcinogens. There are no carcinogens in USP grade petrolatum purchased in the United States. But Dr. Rogers Restore ointment contains castor oil, glycerin, and castor wax. It is also occlusive, but the glycerin adds a layer of hydration. I put this on myself during the winter, and I use it on myself and my patients after laser treatments and after chemical peels when the skin barrier is disrupted. And I find that people's skin barrier heals faster with Dr. Rogers ointment than it does with Aquaphor or plain Vaseline. But it is a lot more expensive, and you don't have to purchase that. You can simply use plain Vaseline if you're just going to be adding it in your slugging routine. So I hope after all that, I provided some clarity on this slugging trend that has gone viral and will inevitably be going viral again over the course of this winter. It is something that can be great for your skin, but it is not for everybody. And I hope through this video, you've been able to determine if it's right for you and if you want to use it. If you regularly slug in your skincare routine, tell me about it. Which product do you like to use and what kind of results have you seen? I'll be looking for you down in the comments. The beauty industry is always marketing to you for the next amazing skincare product that's going to be the miracle for your skin. And the reality is most of these are just trends and fancy marketing. And I love marketing speak. I like to study it. I like to learn from it. But the reality is sometimes the simplest things can make the biggest difference in your skin. And that's what we're doing here in the channel, is trying to educate you to make the informed decisions that save your skin, save your health, and save your pocketbook in many cases. And so if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share this video with somebody who needs to learn a little bit about slugging the right way. And I'll see you guys on the next video.